State lawmakers are being warned to stop excessive drinking.
That Connecticut was a state that didn't offer support. I'm sorry.
Please, Celtics, don't hire a woman to be the head coach. I can't believe that's even in the conversation.
I think it was obvious to smart people that's where it came from. I have no doubt about it. I had no doubt about it. I was criticized by the press because China has a lot of people taken care of.
That Marion Barry. You know what? I actually smoked crack with Marion Barry. I swear to God.
Thousands of emails to and from Dr. Anthony Fauci have been obtained by news outlets, including CNN. They offer a glimpse into Fauci's frantic schedule and the weight that came with his role of being a bearer of honest news.
Was that what that was? Could have fooled me. My goodness. Yes, that's what it was. That's what those email documents...
right, that's what it showed.
That it was, yes, that he was overburdened with being the bearer of truth, unvarnished facts.
It's hard to be so honest all the time.
Even though the evil Donald Trump was trying to have him distort the truth so that he could prove his fealty to Putin, or who knows at this point. So that is where we are. We are running behind today. Once again, of course, everything happens the moment we're about to start recording. And today, we had another little adventure, which was at moments horrifying, and then it turned out to be okay. But they chewed up some time, and that's why we have a little casualty in the studio with us right now. When you have a son who has many allergies, and his siblings cook for him, sometimes it becomes a possible frantic emergency situation. But anyway, emergency has been averted. Everything is fine. We've gone through.
We're good. I have the EpiPens at the ready in case anything worsens.
The pre-show trauma is over. The vomit is gone. Thank you, Alice. Well done. And here we go. So I don't even know where I want to start today. I was on TIC in Connecticut this morning, and it was just too good because we were covering really wall-to-wall the story about Connecticut lawmakers have been getting drunk in the parking garage. Now, since no spectators, no general public is allowed in the building, they've just been setting up camp and having a blast getting hammered. And that's what the audio you heard was Rep. Comey. This is a woman who was overserved and unable to continue on. You recognize that heavy breathing out? That is when you are bleep-faced. Anyway, she was, somebody cut her off. Whoever was running the proceedings cut her off eventually, and the doctor went up there. And she then put out this statement, of course, saying that, out of an abundance of caution, she did not drive, and that she was under a lot of pressure and anxiety, and mixed with a little bit of wine she had with her meal at dinner. Right. So there you go. But anyway, there's a spate of this happening in Connecticut, and these are just political hacks who are just abusing their privileges right now. And that's their problem if you're in another state, but if you're in Connecticut, that is your problem. And this happens all over the place. But we're not starting there. That's of great entertainment to me, obviously. I couldn't have asked for a better scandal.
More applicable to your knowledge base.
Yes, exactly. I can just go by personal experience. I don't have to read up on anything. Okay, but so I don't even want to start with Fauci, Alice. I want to start with this radio station flap. So this is very interesting to me. Alice and I know little to nothing about sports. I was listening to Jerry Callahan's podcast today, which you should listen to, and that's when I learned that the Celtics are getting a new head coach. Danny Ainge was fired. He was the GM. Brad Stevens, who's the coach, has moved up to GM, and the Celtics are hiring a new coach. Now, there are these people saying and floating the idea that, hey, you know what? Maybe it's time for a woman. It'd be a good idea to have a woman as the coach.
Yeah, so I guess he has praised this woman who's an assistant coach before in the past.
Okay, so that's getting people talking. This is the year of identity politics and people getting positions purely on their physicality and gender, or race. So if ever there's a year, this is where it could happen, of course. So Jerry Callahan, who knows all about sports, says no way. It would be very tough for a woman to earn the respect of these players who've only played under men for whatever. And it's an interesting conversation. I do think that possibly a woman could coach the NBA if the
It's more likely than that one could play in the NBA, so I'll give them that.
Alice, that is vicious and undercuts the feminist movement and women's achievements. So
come here for the best sports analysis.
So no, but here's the point. Mm-hmm. The point is this. So it's a great fodder for sports talk radio.
Okay.
So today on 98.5 The Sports Hub, which is the big sports talk here in Boston show, they have this roundup at the end where they play the highlights of the show, the best callers of the show. At least I think that's what it was.
Or the funniest callers of the show.
Right. So anyway, they take this. But one of these host is Scott Zolak, who's the TV voice of the Patriots, who's a cool guy, does a good job, etc. So they take this call.
Let's get to this. Stephen in North Carolina wants no discussions of a woman getting the head coaching gig.
No way, Jose.
Stephen is in North Carolina. Hi, Stephen.
Hey, gentlemen. Thank you for taking my call. Hey, I'm all fired up.
Are you?
The Red Allback is rolling in his grave.
Is he?
Please, Celtics, don't hire a woman to be the head coach. I can't believe that's even in the conversation. The Red Sox went and did it. They hired a woman to be a manager of one of their farm system teams. That's great.
So you get it. This guy does not want a woman to be the coach. There are any number of reasons, whatever. This is sports talk radio. You get these jocular guys. You can call him a pig. You can call him just a guy with an opinion, a jerk, whatever. These are the people, the callers that color the station. There's all sorts of. This is a call you definitely take if you're a board op. If you're a show, you tell your producer, take that call because the guy's going to say something. He's got a controversial.
Yeah, you want the
take.
wacky people.
Absolutely. So they do that, and they take the call. Whatever, they laugh about it. They laugh at him a little bit, etc. That's fine. So then a reporter for the Boston Herald, who I've known and liked, and still do like, named Megan Ottolini. A reporter for the Boston Herald who's also doing some gigs on the competing radio station, but that's neither here nor there. Other than the fact it's probably not wise to tweet out that you were listening to the competition because there's a program director and salespeople at your own station saying, wait a second, what's going on? So that was unwise. But anyway, Megan Ottolini.
I mean, to be fair, she's like probably under 30, right? So
probably right around there.
And the other station is on the AM dial, is it not?
No, it's on the FM dial.
It is?
Yep.
Oh.
So
okay. Well, then I don't know why she wouldn't listen to it, although nobody listens to it, so.
Well, right. Okay. So anyway, Megan Ottolini, she tweets out she's been listening to it and she's angry about this. Can you tell me what she tweeted, Alice?
Just turned on the other sports radio station to hear a caller saying, please, Celtics, don't hire a woman. How about we please don't give people like that a platform? Thanks.
Okay. So, I think this is remarkable. Remarkable. And I think that, unbeknownst to herself, and this is how amazing this is that with that tweet, Megan Ottolini has proven why you don't want a woman as the coach of the Celtics. For some people. She makes a very good case.
Yep.
Because she doesn't even want... She's so easily offended and has a thin skin that even some guy, a jerk caller...
From North Carolina.
Who's on for 30 seconds, she wants that voice gone. Don't give that person a platform. They said something mean that upsets me and it hurts me. Well, that's one of the reasons you're worried about having a woman coach for the Celtics is because you don't know that they're going to be sensitive like Megan.
Right.
And players are jocular and vicious to each other. And they'd be vicious to a coach. But lots of times a player will challenge a coach, get face-to-face with a coach. Certainly. You can't have somebody... Megan now is saying, no, a woman is just as qualified to do the job, absolutely. But don't... Wait a second. Don't hurt my feelings. No, you're proving why. First of all, you can't take... It's your judgment, one, radio judgment, to not take that call. That's remarkable. And two, you're putting on display oversensitivity based on being a woman. Because he said something anti-woman. Well, if you're going to be, even in sports talk, but if you're going to be in pro sports, they toss a lot of smack talk around, and it gets vicious. I mean, if you just see that, if you could just imagine the way Kevin Garnett spoke to opposing players, etc., it's a rough, no-holds-barred game.
Right.
It's complete and total competition. These guys are hard guys, and they'll rib you. They will hurt your feelings. If you're a woman, they're going to find a thing to offend. Mm-hmm. If you're a man, they find a thing to offend. Right now.
Right.
They say horrible things. They talk in ways, especially like Kevin Garnett, the old Celtics person, other than using the N-word every third word, he was a smack talker for the ages, and it's just part of the game. It's part of what men do. They get jocular. You know, they try to light each other up emotionally. Hopefully, get the other person peeves, the other person loses their cool, etc. And that would, to me, for her to have a problem. It's just so damned weak to me. I can't believe it. Why would you do that?
You can't say that out loud. That you don't. We can't platform people. We can't have people like that talking. Like,
that's why men don't want women hanging out with them when they're together.
Right.
That's why guys a lot of times go out and do stuff together, and they say, and when some guy brings his wife or girlfriend, they're like, "What is this? What is this?" Okay, you've done that. Now none of us can speak freely because we have to walk on eggshells because she's going to get offended if we talk like guys talk.
Right.
We've all had this happen. This is crazy. I mean, when you have your friend bring his wife or girlfriend around unannounced as a guy to a situation where it's always just been guys, it's a betrayal by that friend. You're like, wait, great, you've diluted and destroyed this situation that we had. There's a reason for this stuff. And there is no, I'm just, that is not a good sign.
Yeah, no. I mean, and it's not a good sign for if the Celtics were to hire a woman, who I'm sure is a great coach and a lovely person and probably wouldn't behave like Megan Onellini behaves. Can you imagine the level of this kind of discourse that is going to surround all sports discourse?
Oh, my
From
goodness.
that point on? How dare you is going to be the order of the day.
Yes.
For everything anybody says that insults, you're just the first woman head coach in the NBA. You're just, too fragile. And they're going to have a problem with everything anybody says about it.
He never would have said that to a man.
Right. Oh, all the time.
A man would have gotten that call.
Right. And she followed up. She had an argument about it with Scott Zolak, who responded to her on Twitter and said it wasn't an advertised platform. We actually made fun of the moron. He said he has a wife and 2 daughters, and she replied, "Scott, I'm a fan of your work. You usually crack me up, but the only reason I heard this guy is because you played it twice in your final word segment. Hearing trash like that makes my blood boil."
Then if it makes your blood boil, call in or do something. Attack him. You call the line. Apparently you're a listener to the station. You might as well get on there. Or use your own platform and talk to the guy. You're not making an argument. You're saying you were made upset by his mean words.
Right. You're saying we can't let people like this talk because it's so terrible. And, and it didn't sound to me like he was presenting any particularly lucid arguments about coaching ability of the particular women under consideration.
Have you not heard? I know.
He sounds like a moron. Who cares?
Welcome to Sports Talk Radio. When people care about other grown men in sports, it's a ridiculous platform anyway. I want to talk about this 33-year-old man in a tight uniform and his physical prowess and how much his contract should be, dang it, with other people's money. This is very important to me. It's like, no, that's why the only people who are really good at Sports Talk Radio are the people who can make it appealing for those people who don't like sports.
Trash talk the guy or whatever, but to say, like, how dare this radio station give him a platform? Like, it's like we talked about the other day, how, like, people who have a good point to make or who are confident in their argument, they don't... Hey, Dave! Dave!
Dave, go.
Dave, come here!
Dave, come here.
He's going...
Come here, Dave. Come
Okay.
here. Dave is the dog, by the way.
People who are excited about their
What were you afraid Dave was doing, by the way?
I don't want to talk about it.
Does it have to do with... Were you afraid Dave was going to try to lick old vomit?
No.
Or fairly fresh vomit?
No.
Oh, I know what you were going to say. You were afraid Dave was going to go into our room and crap on the laundry.
Right, on my pile of clean laundry that I
those
just
of you
brought up
saying
there.
you want to be part of our family, these are the realities of it.
Anyway.
No, I'm sorry. No.
People who are confident in their positions don't demand that other people not be allowed to say the opposing position. That's just not a thing. If you're confident in your positions, you want the other person saying what they think all day long because you think it's stupid and you can counter it.
Exactly.
You don't...
And you don't go take an end-around way to the host because you have a direct line to him now, thanks to Twitter, and ask for a programming change in the way the structure of the show is now. Because that kind of thing hurts me. Well, that's why sports radio skews men 35 to 64. Because they're dumb idiots whose feelings generally don't get hurt. You know, This is what was like... This is what why Barstool had to change. Because they made it wasn't all about the boys anymore. They made it about being sensitive to certain people and this and that. Now Portnoy has to take crap from young activists, men and women, who are offended by the fact that he, did an interview with the sitting president of the United States. I wish we could talk to him. I don't have his number.
I'm sorry.
He's not interested. I'd assume, but this just blows me away. If I were, well, I guess I'm talking about it now. But damn, I wish Jerry's show was on again. Hold on. Phil, else. I'm texting Jerry.
Well, anyway, so I guess to me the point is, like what you said, this Megan Ottolini thing just proves why you wouldn't want a woman coach, because if you want to hear nagging scolds all day long tell you about how sexist you are, then I think the best thing you could possibly do would be to hire a woman coach, because that's all that's going to happen is there's going to be callers who say dumb things and trash talk, and there's going to be players on the court that say dumb things and trash talk. If you enjoyed the news cycle of the WNBA star complaining that somebody exaggerated her weight on the court, then you'll look forward to the Celtics having a woman head coach, because there's going to be a lot of that. There's going to be a lot of would he have said that if she weren't a woman?
Yes.
And this is so out of line. This player doesn't respect her because she's a woman, and the sports radio callers are going to be terrible.
Right, and now we'll have to do a thing now where even the discussion will be on talk radio will be judged. So the parameters of the discussion, what opinions can you take when you're screening the calls?
Right.
And then what do? Have an activist call all these advertisers, and it's a great way to to ruin a good talk radio and take the fun right out of it.
Yeah, so then it's just going to be, all people scolding us for being
say not
sexist
harmful
all
things.
the time.
Say non-harmful things, all callers.
It's very harmful that caller was allowed to have a platform. Yes. Well, and then I guess you'll probably get callers lying about what they're going to say before they get on the air.
Right, but they'll have to be dumped, or the producer will have to learn how to catch them. And then there'll be a huge no-call list of about 600 callers around New England who aren't allowed on because they want to be entertaining.
So then more people will move to sports podcasts and away from terrestrial radio.
Right,
usual.
But there will be people who don't want that kind of conversation happening anywhere, and will pursue those people who've migrated on to podcasts.
Right, it's like the Globe lady going after Kirk. I'm afraid now because he has a podcast and he can just say whatever he wants. I can't control it on the podcast.
Those activists are going after Kirk and Jerry still. They will not leave them alone. They don't want that speech being said anywhere. It is disgusting.
Yeah, true sign of people who really believe what they say.
By the way, I can't believe, I know you sent this to me, Alice.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't believe, I didn't know that there was audio involved. I didn't know this was this.
They're from D.C. Dude. No, that's Marion Barry. Marion Barry. You know what? I actually smoked crack with Marion Barry. I swear to God.
Jesus.
I was in Georgetown, and he used to go to a place right next to the guards. And I was a sophomore, I guess. There was a junior when that happened, but he used to come there and drink like late. And I would be in there. And he'd go to the bathroom. But anyway.
That is Hunter Biden, whose propensity to be a total dirtbag is only equaled by his propensity to not be able to shut the hell up about incredibly humiliating things he's done, including crack with the D.C. mayor, Marion Barry, and, freebasing Parmesan cheese off of his rug and whatever else he does. Well, I did write about Hunter in the Substack. There's been new revelations out today that this woman, London Roberts, who we were told was a stripper that he knocked up, was not at all a stripper.
She was a stripper too.
Oh, at the time when she worked for him?
I don't know if at the same time, but she had been a stripper, yeah.
Okay.
At a club that he frequented. So he might have got her the job.
Oh, I see.
He might have got her the job at his firm because he enjoyed her company at the strip club.
Well, that's even more
but by all accounts, she's
actually,
she's a fairly smart person. She has degrees.
So he imports the woman who was a stripper into the office and has an affair with her while he's dating his brother's widow at the time. And so now we know that he's been claiming that he didn't really know the woman at all.
He didn't know her at all.
Right, but he did know her because she worked for him.
Right.
And not only did he get her pregnant and then cut her off from any communication, even though she was begging for help. She had a baby on the way, and then she had a baby, but he refused to acknowledge anything about it. He cut off her health insurance.
Right, at his firm. He made sure she got her health insurance taken away from her.
Right. And also, it's a classic, solid gold guy right there. And then he said it wasn't his baby, and then he was told she asked for child support. He said that he didn't have any money to give to her for child support.
While he was living in a $12,000 a month house.
Yep, with a Porsche. And then when a judge got involved in the whole thing, he finally settled up and gave her $2.5 million. So he found money where there wasn't money.
Yeah, weird how that happens.
And so anyway, there's a Substack I wrote about that. This guy's just an absolute. First, I used to think he was a sad mess, but he's not. He's a mean, vile person who treated these two other people like subhumans because they weren't in his fancy circles. And he could
he didn't need to.
Toss them away.
I mean, thank God for DNA tests.
Right.
Because otherwise, he denied ever knowing her, and it could have, she could have been another one of these people that's just called a crazy accuser by these powerful people like Bill Clinton and Al Gore and Joe Biden, and it would have never come back to haunt him. But Mr. I've never seen this woman before in my life, Your Honor. She's just totally crazy. It turns out he is the dad of the child, and it turns out now that the laptop turned up that we have text messages from him to his assistant getting her health insurance cut off. So now we know exactly what kind of person he is, and frankly, I think it reflects on Joe and Jill Biden, too. I think it is bizarre behavior to not be in contact with your grandchild over something like that because you don't think, her mom is classy enough for you, or because, you're embarrassed by the circumstances of the grandchild's birth. It's still your grandchild at the end of the day. And, at the point where it comes out, even if you believed Hunter at first that he didn't know her and had no idea, now it comes out the DNA test comes back and that he's either lying or such a mess that he did this and doesn't remember, supposedly. But now we know that's not even true. He was just lying. But, even if he just did this while he was on a bender and doesn't remember this person, which is possible, people who do drugs do a lot of crazy stuff, like lose laptops in New Jersey and all kinds of stuff. It's possible that you can be on a bender and get somebody pregnant and not remember them. That's possible. But once it turns out you're the parent, step up. What? Right. The DNA doesn't lie. This is just scumbag behavior, and it's scumbag behavior on his part and on Joe and Jill Biden's part. You said to me today, it's all his other legitimate grandchildren are on one path of success and privilege and the best schools and knowing the best people and getting ahead. And this other grandchild is just screwed because, you didn't like her mom, or, you're embarrassed by your son's behavior. It's so gross. It's absolutely the most offensive thing. And I get so frustrated because it's like the Democratic Party acts like they're these big champions for working class people and single moms. And, who cares if someone's a stripper? They still have human dignity, and sex work is dignified, with sex work is work, and all this stuff. Like, all these lefties always tout all this stuff. But like, when push comes to shove, when it is in your circle, it doesn't matter. Just, go away. It reminds me of, like, I don't know. I think it's absolutely odious. Honestly, I care more about this than I care about him selling access to his father to Ukrainians and Chinese people.
Totally.
That's also scummy. And I forget if we even covered it on the show, but there was more evidence about that. Joe Biden actually did meet with, Russians and stuff that he was supposed to not be meeting with through Hunter. It was the whole thing. But, this is just, like, on a human level worse. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend Trump was some, like, paragon of human virtue. Mm-hmm. But this is, like, absolutely the worst behavior I can imagine in a politician.
Right, and I've had the normal people on social media saying, now do Don Jr., now do whatever, now do whatever. Well, remember, you told me that they were historically immoral people and unworthy of the perimeter of the White House.
Right.
So your guy was better, remember?
Yeah, he's decent. He's good.
Right.
He's, good old decent Joe who is empathetic and cares about people. That's what. But if you can't care about your own flesh and blood grandchild, like that your own son is trying to, he's trying to hurt his own child. Like, and you don't care about that. That doesn't bother you. Don't feel some obligation or sense of duty. Like, that says more about you as a person than almost anything else, I think.
I completely agree. And that's something that's not you can get a life coach to help you be better at something. That is an absolute temperature check on your morality.
Yeah.
You're just a bad dude and unfixable. If that's your natural thought process.
Yeah, I can't look at Jill or Joe Biden and how they interact with their other kids and grandchildren the same way, to be honest.
Well,
she's a hell of a doctor. She's an amazing doctor.
All right, so what's happened since the Fauci email dump is a couple of things. There is a lot of X-rated romance going on, and the attempt to protect one's loved ones is happening all over cable news. So you've got Anthony Fauci, who's trying to protect his Chinese brethren at any cost. And then you've got the media who's trying to protect their Fauci brethren at all costs. So here's Fauci defending the Chinese.
The idea, I think, is quite far-fetched that the Chinese deliberately engineered something so that they could kill themselves as well as other people. I think that's a bit far out, John.
Okay, Alice, what person anywhere was saying that the Chinese engineered something so that they could deliberately kill themselves?
Yeah, that's the conspiracy theory.
Nobody's saying that. That is a straw man. Nobody's saying that.
No, that's not what anybody's saying.
He knows that, by the way. He knows that.
Yeah. What we're saying is, and this is, Vanity Fair did a huge expose on this today. You should go read it. It's super long. But really all about how they, from the beginning, completely tried to cover up the possibility that there was a lab leak here, and going through it bit by bit, showing that, the closest natural relation of this virus is a virus that they had brought in to be engineered because it had gotten 12 miners sick in 2012, and some of them died, who were working in this cave from the bat guano. So they isolated this bat virus and brought it to the lab. It shares 96% of its genome with this SARS virus, which is the closest of any virus we've encountered so far. We have no point of contact, no patient zero, like no way to figure out where this initially came from. They knew it was human-to-human transmission early on. The intelligence community figured out last fall that they had, these Wuhan Institute of Virology researchers get sick. At the very least, it's a possibility. It's a clear possibility that this virus was either something they had isolated in the lab that got out, or that it was something they had modified in some way that got out. by accident, obviously.
Right.
I mean, so, but the Chinese government was also doing military research at this same facility. So the possibility that, you know, they were researching it as a bioweapon and it got out accidentally is also a possibility. I mean, like, that's part of this. But Vanity Fair has this huge, long expose. Why, you might ask, did our government work so hard to cover up this possibility? Well, the bomb thrower in chief weighed in. At a press briefing, Trump contradicted his own intelligence officials and claimed he had seen classified information indicating the virus could have come from the Wuhan Institute of Virology. As to what the evidence was, he said, "I can't tell you that. I'm not allowed to tell you that." Trump's premature statement poisoned the waters for anyone seeking an honest answer to the question of where COVID-19 came from. According to Pottinger, there was an antibody response within the government in which the discussion of a possible lab origin was linked to destructive nativist posturing. The revulsion extended to the international science community, whose maddening silence frustrated researcher Miles Yu. He recalled anyone who dares to speak out would be ostracized. And then further down towards the end of the article, it says that even though China obviously is to blame here for covering so much of this information up and keeping us from knowing the truth, they tell us that the United States deserves a healthy share of blame as well. Thanks to their unprecedented track record of mendacity and race baiting, Trump and his allies had less than zero credibility. And the practice of funding risky research via cutouts like the EcoHealth Alliance enmeshed leading virologists in conflicts of interest at the exact moment their expertise was most desperately needed. So this is their take.
So in other words,
but the article actually, they can't hide even though they have these few statements where they're trying to make it seem like all this only happened because Trump was so racist and such an evil liar that they had to take the opposite position. The article is fascinating. It's like reading a spy novel, all the ways that they tried to cover this up and hide things and discredit people. And because they're all deep in, and we were funding a lot of this research, and even though we had a moratorium on gain of function research, it was like a wink wink thing. Everybody knew that they were doing it because there's no virology without gain of function research, basically. And that that everything that Rand Paul's and Donald Trump's of the world alleged that this was a possibility that this had happened is completely with merit and should be investigated.
And it just came down to hurt feelings.
Yeah,
because
they couldn't believe Trump because he's like a racist liar. So
right.
That would be bad to do that.
So that's why they have to take a different tack that he had.
And they're still trying. Dr. Leanna Wen was tweeting that we still shouldn't investigate the lab leak theory when Biden announced it because it could lead to violence against Asian Americans.
The most important thing in this religion is that Trump is evil and bad and never right. Those are the tenets of this religion, and they must never be challenged. That's it. And everything else is subordinate to that. So they have, if that means that the virus spreads and kills more people, that's fine. Whatever it takes, whatever we have to offer, whatever you have to offer up to this virus, whether it's your kids sucking wind trying to play softball at 75-degree weather,
right?
You know, whether or not it's being complicit in helping the Chinese cover up, the number one goal is to just screw Trump. That's it, because I hate him. So they're all the smartest people in the world. All these Ivy League doctor, all these initials after the doctor, all these people, they're just as dumb as the idiots in The View.
When that theory came out that it could have come from a lab, it came out under the former administration, and I think the messenger matters. I think during that time...
The messenger matters. I guess it does.
When that theory started to be told, it was buried in an administration and a former president who often kind of troped in kind of racist terms and dog whistles, and so it buried...
And so since we're all so insane that we read every possible evil element into everything Trump says, that we can't see through it because we're seeing this boogie monster, because our minds are crushed, then that's just how it's got to be.
Message that could have been actually reasonable, but no one was going to hear it because it came from under Trump's administration, and the media at that time was used to what he doled out, and they were going to push back on that.
Right.
My God. She's saying as if that's a good thing. Yes, we all refuse to process logic and reason. We all have refused to act in a stable manner because it was Trump saying stuff. So we all did. And we're good for it. Yeah, good for us, see? So it's not our fault. No, it's his fault for being him, to driving us crazy, to making us into idiots.
Is it fair to criticize Fauci for not knowing the exact answer when everyone wanted it?
No.
No way.
I mean,
Nope.
you know, this anti-science crowd on the right with Trump.
They had the science. They're the ones who are pointing to the science. But no, the anti-science crowd, it's a slogan, doesn't ever mean anything. You're anti-science.
Has been criticizing Fauci from the Giddy app as if he's some kind of oracle of Delphi instead of a scientist. You know, the man gets the facts, gets the information, and then adjusts what he says to people. What do they expect from him? And, you know, Trump was blaming the Chinese from the beginning because he was using them as scapegoats. If it happens to be true that it comes from Wuhan, well, that was just a lucky break on his part because he took a guess, in my opinion.
No, that's not a mentally crazed person at all.
Not that he has access to intelligence and stuff that you don't have.
No, it doesn't matter. He doesn't get the win because he was just guessing. He didn't know. He was lying.
He was just racist.
That. Yeah. These
and now they're saying
zombified idiots have important and influential positions in the world.
No.
From Fauci to Joy Behar to all over the place.
In a way, they're lucky that Trump, in some ways, didn't take all the virus stuff seriously because they would have been on the other side of it.
Totally.
Had he, from the get-go, been like super serious about it and wearing N95 masks everywhere and demanding that people come into his orbit in, you know, hazmat suits and stuff, and like had taken the virus really serious, they would all have said it was a hoax and made up.
There would be zero masks. They would just as soon as duplicate exactly
typical
his
Republican fear mongering
his hair, then they would have worn a mask. They would never have done it.
Never in a million years.
You know what it would have been? Yes, the Nazis wore armbands. The Trump people wear masks. That's what it would have been. The same exact thing. Oh God, idiots. Anyway, so the people at CNN, like I said, were busy filleting Fauci all day, doing Iron Dome level defense of him.
Thousands of emails to and from Dr. Anthony Fauci have been obtained by news outlets, including CNN. They offer a glimpse into Fauci's frantic schedule and the weight that came with his role of being a bearer of honest news, frank and honest news.
There was a universe, and it existed until a few years ago, where a producer would tell somebody to bail out, go to commercial. The producer would then call down to the front desk and tell them to send security up to the studio. And the producer would tell that person right there that he's fired and he needs to leave right now and that his stuff will be FedExed to him.
Right.
Those days are gone, but there was a day when that would happen.
On the Trump administration's coronavirus task force, in one email from February of last year, Fauci wrote it was reminiscent of post-anthrax days. Days later, he told a reporter, quote, "I am really tired, not much sleep these days."
Oh, my goodness.
Wow. What a saint.
Goodness.
I mean, really, like a martyr to the cause. Do you have Nicole Wallace in there, too?
Yes.
So there was some subtle shade being thrown at Nicole Wallace by the Chiron writer here. So go ahaid and play her.
Well, the true mark of someone is if they look good, even when their personal emails come out. So you pass the test that very few of us would pass.
So the Chiron on this said moments later, Dr. Fauci on release of his work emails. Thousands of emails from 2020 were obtained by FOIA request. So because she said that his personal emails, so few of us would look good if our personal emails were released to pass the test, as though like his email account was his like Yahoo.com was hacked by somebody and released his personal emails. So the Chiron writer wrote work emails, and not just his emails, but work emails, and pointed out in the subhead there that it was by FOIA request. So this is legitimate. They can't Hunter Biden. Maybe it's not accurate. We don't know. The Russians could have planted it. Like, this is the emails provided by the U.S. government upon a FOIA request by the Washington Post and BuzzFeed. So this isn't some right-wing conspiracy theory by, Russia Today or whatever. This is a legitimate government channel. And we read you some of these emails yesterday on the show, how he's setting up big conference calls to talk about the possibility of a lab leak last February.
But she's also simply spinning on his behalf.
Right.
So you have people, and I know newspaper editors who will watch this, who watch her already, who will watch this, and say...
Well, the true mark of someone is if they look good, even when their personal emails come out. So you pass the test that very few of us would pass.
I know editors who will say, wow, she made a really good point. The end. That even though it's his personal emails, he really looks good. You're right. And they'll accept the premise that she says that it looks good. He doesn't look good.
Yeah,
He
not
looks
only
bad.
are they not his personal emails,
Right.
that he knew would be subject to public records requests and everything else. They're, government property, all these emails. But not only were they not his personal emails, but he doesn't friggin' look good. He looks terrible. Not only was he lying about masks, not only was he lying about the death rate of the virus, not only was he lying about how many people need to be vaccinated to, reach herd immunity, not only all this stuff, day after day, does he, spin and lie and change things, but... we also know now that he was lying about the possibility of a lab leak last year. This is... And his own involvement in it. Because as the head of NIAID, I don't know if you say NIAID or what people say, but... the NIH was overseeing this funding that was going, as I was reading you from the Vanity Fair article that you should definitely go read, that, they were giving money to these big umbrella organizations that were giving it to all these crazy labs that we weren't overseeing. This is our money, you and me. The EcoHealth Alliance was this big group that was getting all these government grants and giving it to various groups, including the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Rand Paul was right, that our tax dollars could have funded the development or at least the isolation of this virus.
Right.
This is a virus. They specifically went looking. There's this cave in Yunnan province, which is thousands of miles away from where this lab is, where all these bat viruses are. And they went there and isolated a bunch of them and brought them back to their lab in Wuhan. Now, what are the chances that a very similar virus to the ones from that cave thousands of miles away would pop up all of a sudden right by the lab? And there's only, I think I was reading in the article, there's 3 labs in the world that do this type of research with these types of viruses. With these types of viruses anyway. So it's not like, they're all over and it could have happened anywhere. I mean, it's possible. It's, in the same country, it's possible that somebody, traveled from the lab and released it from the cave where all the bat viruses are. I mean, it occurs to me maybe we should just nuke this bat cave. This is where all the terrible viruses.
Anti-Asian hate, by the way. But you probably learned it from your buddy.
I think it was obvious to smart people that's where it came from. I have no doubt about it. I had no doubt about it. I was criticized by the press because China has a lot of people taken care of.
He ain't wrong.
Took care of Hunter. They took care of Joe. They took care of everybody, didn't they? And people didn't want to say China. Usually they blame it on Russia. It's always Russia, Russia, Russia.
When it comes to China, the more we learn about their malfeasance regarding the virus and what they knew very early on and lied to the world about, is it important for the United States...
This is a Newsmax interview, by the way. Trump likes this guy just fine.
...that we make them pay a real penalty for what they did?
Well, we have to be stronger than what we are right now. Right now, what's going on is just very unfortunate. I put massive taxes and tariffs on China. We took in tens of billions of dollars, and they're talking about taking them off.
I hate to say it, even though he had some nice things to say about
Xi Jinping.
Xi Jinping. Is that it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he had good old-fashioned trade war going with him. He was tough on China. He was trying to, get rid of or protect our IP, and there was definitely he got hell for it, of course, because everything he did was wrong. But maybe the tariffs backfired, maybe they didn't. But he did something. They got the point that he was not necessarily an agreeable leader.
You look at the military they're building; it's going to be, it's so big what they're doing, and they're doing it with money they take out of the United States.
So you're right, though. If it does come, if in fact we funded the development of what is possibly a biological weapon that went wrong and killed 3 million people on Earth and 600, 700,000 Americans, then
on Fauci's watch,
right? Then there is no bigger story than that. That is that we were part of the impetus for the biggest man-made disaster in our history, there is no bigger story.
Yeah.
Of course, there also is no more gravity, sea level, or logic left in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows if that even matters? Because dumbs, like the people on The View and the media people and elected leaders, etc., who are 100% emotionally broken, they are not salvageable, I think. Intellectually salvageable, anyway. Okay, another thing is the...
so this is interesting, though, because you say, like, there's no bigger story. Fauci obviously having trouble. Where's my phone, bud? Is it out of batteries? No. Are they letting you use it? No. The other
Why
kids?
don't you have it? Why don't you have it, Anson?
Because I don't want to.
Okay. All right. So,
but I mean, I think it's interesting that Fauci's a little bit left out to dry here on these emails. And not only is he left out to dry, but his book that had just been announced a couple days before, Expect the Unexpected, he had a big book deal to write about his lessons from all this.
Mm-hmm.
And the book is now not on Amazon or Barnes & Noble for pre-order anymore.
So I didn't know if this was true or false. So
I mean, it's
they
not on.
Spiked the book.
It's not on there.
Is this guy gonna skip town and go to Beijing?
I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. We had one person say to us, like, the government wouldn't have, gotten this FOIA request out on time unless they already were fine with him taking the fall for this, because, like, he looks so bad in these emails, despite the media trying to cover for him here. Like, no way would they have let those go out unredacted unless they already... So maybe it is going to come out that he knew they were funding this type of research. I don't know. It seems crazy. It seems crazy. I still think, like, the most plausible is that they just had this virus there and, And somebody screwed up.
Right.
Because there's been a bunch of cases in these research labs in China where they have things accidentally escape or almost accidentally escape, where people don't follow proper safety protocols.
Right. So this is Francis Collins, the guy who runs the National Institute of Health. He's on Fox News, and he gets salty immediately. You can hear him making little noises. He gets salty because the anchor, who's Martha McCallum, was asking the wrong question. She's asking about how this thing started in China when he just wants to talk vaccines.
We've talked about vaccines, we've talked about research, but now more here, we all agree that it's very important to put COVID behind us. You and I have talked about vaccines, we've talked about research, but now more and more, I think it's really important that we drill down, because we don't want this to happen again. And we have seen other viruses that came from lab leaks. I think that is also something that wasn't widely discussed at the beginning of this. So I think there are a lot of questions about the relationships and why we weren't asking tougher questions early on from our medical professionals.
I agree. We need to get to the bottom of this.
Oh, that was him huffing and puffing at the beginning.
But gosh, you and I just spent a whole bunch of minutes here talking about some issue that we need to get an answer to, and meanwhile people are still dying from COVID-19, and we didn't even talk about the ways to get to an end to this with vaccines. So please, could we have a...
Are there vaccines available? I hadn't heard.
No, I don't know. Is there any way that you can get one? Or...
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I don't know how
Someday
to get
there'll
one.
be a vaccine.
Bit more of the focus on how we're going to save lives while we're talking about how this all started. We need both of those, don't we?
No, Punk, we don't.
A lot of
you
time
and
into
your
that,
moron,
and I think
jerk lab-coated
the questions
lying
about the
weasels
origins of
can
this
go
are not going away, Dr. Collins, and I think we need to...
Hell. Yeah, no. I don't think so. I don't think so one dang bit. Okay. Alice,
update. So then they're saying the book is published by National Geographic, and they told Newsweek that the book was taken down because it went on pre-sale prematurely.
Ooh, okay. Wow.
So they're saying they didn't mean to put it up for pre-sale earlier this week. It was a mistake. So I guess they're waiting to see how things...
Seems like it would be a low-priority book, right? You'd give the new guy that job to make sure that goes on sale at the right time. All right, Alice, it is time. I've got to go to baseball, American, where, you know what? You know what, Alice?
Yeah?
I think that I think men or women can coach because I'm a really good person, and that's just how I feel about that. All right, here we go, everybody. Thank you all, by the way, for subscribing and follow me. My Substack is out today. You can send us a message, burnbarrelpodcast@gmail.com. Do leave a message thing in the thing. A comment and 5 stars if you can. If you can. I always feel like a jerk asking, and I always feel like a jerk for mentioning that I feel like a jerk for saying it.
Okay.
That good?
It's perfect.
Have a great weekend.
Awesome. Have a great weekend, everybody.